I'm 60-Second Spidey, and I'm recapping mainline Spider-Man comics in timeline order. Here's part 3. Years before Peter became Spider-Man, Police Captain George Stacy and his brother Arthur are investigating an attack on Arthur's employer, Norman Osborn. They are attacked by a horrifying creature, but they scare it away as Arthur finds evidence that the creature has ties to Oscorp, which result in his dismissal. Norman recalls how he stole his partner Mendelstrom's work and experimented on an employee, creating the Proto-Goblin. Arthur and George sneak into Osborn's home as he is being attacked by the Proto-Goblin, who they seemingly take down and drown in the river. But Norman finds more of Mendelstrom's notes in his desk to use for later. Norman Osborn is reminiscing on stealing Mendelstrom's work as Spidey fights the Enforcers again. A villain called the Headsman flies in and almost unmasks Spidey, forcing him to flee the scene. Later on, the Enforcers sneak into Oscorp, so Harry Osborn shoots a signal flare, luring Spider-Man to the scene. He fights the Headsman once again and breaks the gear that is giving him his powers. The Headsman flies off, and it is revealed that Norman Osborn was puppeting the villain all along, and now he has to take matters into his own hands. Peter is at the train station with Aunt May when he sees Curt Connors, so he grabs Batwing and brings him to be cured, but the kid panics and accidentally turns Curt back into the Lizard, who easily defeats them both and flees. They track Lizard's reptile friends and find Curt in the sewers. He's about to kill Spidey, but Batwing cries and it reminds him of his son, so he changes back and takes Batwing home to help him. Peter is wondering why Betty Brant suddenly left town when he hears Doctor Octopus was released from prison. He invents the Spider Tracer to track Oc's movements and sees him leave New York City with Betty Brant. It turns out Betty's brother Bennett owes gangsters money, so he coordinated Oc's release as payment. Peter tracks down Betty in Philadelphia and vows to tell her that he is Spider-Man. Of course, Oc and the gangsters double-cross the Brant siblings and take them aboard a ship, where Spider-Man fights them off, accidentally leading to Bennett being fatally shot. In a rage, Spider-Man chases after Doc Ock, but he disappears into the ocean. Peter consoles Betty, now too afraid to admit his secret to her. Spider-Man arrives at a crime scene and discovers the jewel thief, Commanda, who uses flirtation as well as remote-controlled drones to escape. At the Bugle, classmate Sally learns Peter is the one who takes photos of Spider-Man and wants to help him. Later at a hotel, Commanda strikes again, but Peter is able to resist her flirting and destroys her drone device. She cries out and pretends that she was innocent, which works, so Peter once again has to flee from the police. Doc Ock is committing crimes across the country, but decides to come back to NYC to fight Spider-Man, so he attacks the Daily Bugle office and kidnaps Betty Brant. Despite being sick, Peter jumps into action, but is quickly beaten and unmasked in front of the entire crowd. Luckily, everyone thought he was only pretending to be Spidey to save his girlfriend Betty. Doc Ock releases a bunch of zoo animals for some reason, and a now healthy Spidey fights him and takes him out, helping arrest him once more. Maxwell Dillon, Electro, is broken out of jail by the supervillain Eel. Classmate Sally shows up at Peter's house as the new superhero, Bluebird. She wants him to put her in the Bugle or she will tell the class he is Spidey's photographer, so he tells them himself. Later, Spider-Man is fighting Electro and Eel when Bluebird arrives. Peter doesn't want her to get hurt, but begrudgingly they work together to defeat the villains, but Sally's inexperience allows them to escape. Spider-Man is fighting a giant bug with the quote-unquote help of classmate Bluebird. Betty hears that a photographer was hurt and worries that it was Peter. She thinks back to how her mom used to work at the Daily Bugle. At the time, her boyfriend Gordon befriended her brother Bennett and got them both involved with the mob, leading to her mom being attacked and put in a coma, which is why Betty took her job at the Bugle. Spidey defeats the giant bug, and Peter returns with the photos to a very, very relieved Betty Brant. Spider-Man and classmate Sally are fighting crime when she lets her guard down and is hurt. Spidey tells her that what she's doing is dangerous, so she finally quits. But at school, she claims she will photograph crime instead. While Spider-Man is fighting the villain Black Knight, Sally grabs her camera and forces her friend Jason to drive her to the crime scene. But they get into a serious car accident where Sally sadly passes away. In a rage, Peter tracks down the Black Knight and brutally defeats him, only stopping when the Human Torch separates them. People around New York City see Spider-Man committing crimes, which shocks Peter since he doesn't remember doing them. Convinced for some reason that he is doing crimes in his sleep, He tries to see a therapist, but is scared that they will find out his identity. Meanwhile, a new masked figure named Mysterio claims to be a hero who will put a stop to Spider-Man's terror, and he does indeed defeat him on top of a bridge. When they fight a second time, Mysterio tells Spidey he is actually a villain, and uses special effects to trick people, including framing Spider-Man. But Spidey used the oldest trick in the book and recorded his confession, so he clears his name after defeating Mysterio. Peter is web-swinging and sees classmate Tiny working at a gas station, but gets attacked by Scorcher once again. He dives into the river to avoid the fight, then learns that Tiny's dropped out of school. The whole school is silent when Jason returns from his role in Sally's death, but he turns down Peter's friendship. Spidey sneaks back into the gas station and sees Scorcher breaking in, so with the help of Tiny, they take down the villain, who explodes himself to avoid capture. Spider-Man convinces Tiny to go back to school and fix his life. A brand new villain, the Green Goblin, has a plan. He recruits the Enforcers and the help of a Hollywood director, then flies around to get Spidey's attention and invites him to star in a movie. On set, Spider-Man thinks the Enforcer actors are very realistic looking when they suddenly all attack him for real. Using a flying broomstick, Green Goblin joins the fight and forces Peter into a nearby cave, where randomly the Incredible Hulk has been hiding out. After tricking the Hulk into making a brand new exit for him, Spidey escapes the cave and forces the Goblin to flee. But he's told that he isn't getting paid for this fake movie appearance. One night at the Daily Bugle, Betty Brant is forced to place fake evidence in J. Jonah Jameson's files by her mobster ex-boyfriend, Gordon. When Peter hears Jonah was arrested, he goes to a press conference where he claims he is innocent. When Gordon reveals his demands to Jonah, Spider-Man intervenes, fighting with a superpowered gangster until he crushes him with giant rolls of newspaper. Gordon is arrested and Jonah blames Spider-Man. Shocker. Thanks for watching part 3 of my Spider-Man timeline recap. Like, follow, and subscribe as I post daily shorts and long-form compilations.